Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Jenny, the LDS Mission Coach, and you are listening to the LDS Mission Podcast, episode number 53, Tackling Your To-Do List. I'm Jenny, the LDS Mission Coach, and whether you are preparing to serve a mission, currently serving, a returned missionary, or a missionary mama like me, I created this podcast just for you. Are you searching for epic confidence? Ready to love yourself and to learn the how of doing hard things? Then let's go. I will help you step powerfully into your potential and never question your purpose again. It's time to embrace yourself, embrace your mission, embrace your life, and embrace what's next. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. Happy June to you. There's lots of fun happening around the Dildine household. This morning, I dropped my kids off to go off to a Pioneer Trek. Our stake does an amazing job putting on a Pioneer Trek. It should be really eventful, but I have found myself all day today just thinking, I wonder what they're doing now. I wonder what they're up to. I wonder if they have blisters. I wonder if they're enjoying their time. I wonder if they're making friends. So that is all going on over the next few days. It was my third oldest son and my daughter, who's going to be a sophomore next year. They're on their Pioneer Trek. That's super exciting. The other thing that's going on is I just ordered announcements for my second son's wedding that is coming up in like 5 weeks. It's coming up very quickly, and we are beyond thrilled and excited to have another daughter-in-law in our family. So that is gonna be fun. I also, by the way, am feeling a lot better. My podcast last week, if you listened to it, I was basically, I wouldn't say on death's door, but I'm sure you can remember I was all hoarse and kind of had to edit out, actually, you guys, a lot of coughing attacks that I had. I'm feeling a lot better. I'm definitely on the mend. So thank goodness for health, right? I wanted to remind everybody that you can go get a training video for preparing missionaries. I'm seeing lots of posts about missionaries getting their mission calls. I love sharing this one tool with all of them. It has the ability to completely transform your mission experience. You can go to jennydildine.com/one tool and get all of that goodness in that video. What it means for you is you can get a little bit of mental and emotional prep for your mission in 10 minutes. It's about a 10-minute video. So I hope you'll go watch it, go get it. It has the ability to change everything and really, really empower you to create the exact mission experience that you want. The last thing that I need to let you know is that Facebook, bless their hearts, I can't remember if I mentioned this last week or not. Facebook decided that they're not going to host podcasts anymore, which it's fine. Facebook is allowed to change their minds, but it's kind of a bummer for the missionaries that were listening to this. So what I've decided to do is I've decided to just put my podcast on Google Drive. Now, I understand, like, if people are listening to my podcast on Google Drive, it's not going to like up my rankings on Apple Podcasts. It's not going to up my rankings anywhere else. And I guess I just decided that I don't care. Like, I really do want to get as many tools out to as many missionaries as possible. So listen, if you're a mom and you're listening to this, send me an email, jenny@jennydildine.com. I'll send you the Google Drive link. Okay? We can share these episodes with your missionaries. I think today's episode is going to be especially useful for missionaries. So yeah, just send me an email. Let me know. Let's get them this podcast in their Google Drive. Okay. So with everything we've had going on the last couple days, with getting ready for Trek, also just, my weekly to-do list and my business of like trying to get a podcast out and trying to send a weekly email and meeting with all of my clients and all of that. And then we also have this wedding that we're planning for. I really started thinking about our to-do lists. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. There's a couple things that we're going to go over today about to-do lists. And there's just a few points I want to cover. They're in no particular order, but here's one of the first things that we need to understand about our to-do list. Now, this could be if we're on the mission. This could be after we're home from the mission. This could be as we're getting ready to go out on the mission. This could be moms. It feels like to me that it's pretty normal for us to have an ongoing list, at least I do, of things that we want to accomplish in the future. Maybe your list includes things like exercise, maybe studying Preach My Gospel. Maybe your list is like, I gotta get some dating in, I gotta date a few people. Maybe your list includes like, I gotta make myself go to some social gatherings. The list could go on and on. Reading scriptures, going to the temple. If we're on the mission, maybe we have companionship inventory. Maybe we have a list of like people we need to contact and things we need to get done. This week I was talking to a service missionary, and she said every day her list is very, very long of places she's going to go serve and things that she's going to do. And so there's a couple things I want to understand and for us to talk about with your to-do list. One of the things I think we mistakenly believe is that when we accomplish our to-do list, when we get all of the things done on our to-do list, that we will have more worth. Now, if you don't hear anything else that I say on this podcast, the rest of this episode, please hear me out when I say, after you study Preach My Gospel, after you exercise, after you start dating more, after you do your companionship inventory, you will not have increased your worth. Let's take any goal, actually. What if we decided we were going to run a marathon? Does the person who's run the marathon and check that off their to-do list, do they have more worth than someone who hasn't, like me? By the way, I've never run a marathon. I never planned to run a marathon. I don't think I want to run a marathon. But do people's accomplishments change their worth? No, they absolutely don't change your worth. So if you are having a hard time believing me, I want you to go back and listen to episode 45. You can't change your worth. Okay, that's such a good one that everyone needs to hear, no matter which part of the mission experience you're in. Actually, no matter which part of life you're in, you need to hear that episode. This is what I want us to understand is we sort of think that once we get the to-do list done, once we accomplish the thing, that it will make us more valuable or more whole or more worthy of love or more accomplished. But listen, none of that is true. You are as worthy and valuable and whole as the day you were born. And what you do doesn't change that. What you don't do doesn't change that. So that's just good to know. It kind of takes the pressure off of our to-do list a little bit. We don't need to tie up our value or our worth in what we accomplish. So another thing I want you to think about is that our brain sort of tells us once we achieve the thing, once we exercise, once we've lost the weight, once we've read our scriptures, once we've gotten that baptism on the mission, whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish, our brain tells us once we achieve the thing, that then everything will be happiness and roses and daisies and rainbows forever. But what's actually true is your brain will just go with you. Once you run a marathon, your brain will just find another reason to be frustrated or sad or disappointed. Once we get our exercising done, our brains will just find another reason to feel the way that it feels. Okay? That's just our brain's job. It's not a problem. So it's just good to know that there after we accomplish the things on our to-do list is not actually better than here. It's the same. The way I like to describe it is here, the difficulties that we're experiencing could be like a flavor of ice cream, like Rocky Road. But then our brain goes with us after we've already accomplished the thing, after we've contacted the people, after we've made ourselves exercise, whatever it is, our brain goes with us. And then that will be a different version of ice cream or a different flavor of ice cream, a different challenge that we could just call mint chip. Wherever you go, there is not better than here because your brain just goes with you wherever you go. Okay? So I have 2 tactics. With all of that being said, I have 2 tactics that I want to share with you today about how to tackle your to-do list. One of the things I want to talk to you about is that we can either, number 1, choose a good fuel, or number 2, we can feel the not great fuel and take the action anyway. Okay? The way I talk about our emotions or our feelings here on the podcast is that they're like fuel in a car. So if we're feeling happy, it's going to take us one place. If we're feeling gratitude and abundance and motivation, we're going to go one place. If we're feeling overwhelm, confusion, doubt, frustration, irritation, if we're feeling one of those emotions, it's going to take us another place. Okay? It's totally fine that this happens. Again, we have that brain that's going to go with us wherever we go. Remember, thoughts create our feelings. So we have a couple options. We can choose a good fuel. Most of us think, I just want to feel motivated and then I will feel like I can accomplish what's on my to-do list, which it's great. If you can generate some motivation, then by all means do it. But remember, motivation doesn't come from getting stuff marked off your to-do list. Motivation comes from a thought. So I want you to think about, how will I feel once the to-do list is done? Maybe I'll feel gratitude. Maybe I'll feel acceptance. Maybe I'll feel accomplished. And what am I going to be thinking when I feel that way? I might be thinking, gosh, I was really productive today. When we think I was really productive or I'm being really productive, then we feel that accomplishment. And that accomplishment is a useful fuel. It's a good fuel for our car. That accomplishment is actually going to propel us to do more and to accomplish more. So as often as possible, I'm all for it. Let's generate some useful fuel. But sometimes, because we've got this lower brain and it's very convincing, it is going to offer us thoughts where we feel some overwhelm, where we feel some stress, where we feel some confusion, where we feel some disappointment. Now, although it feels a lot better to take action from useful fuel, sometimes we just have to take action from fuel that doesn't feel very good, feel the feeling, and do it anyway. Did you know you can feel overwhelmed, the feeling of overwhelm, and still take action? It's not going to feel as good as if we were feeling motivated. But what I tell my clients is, if we wait forever to feel motivation or to generate motivation, it might not come. And then we'll just be sitting there forever, not accomplishing anything on our to-do list. Instead, what we should just know is it's going to kind of feel yucky too sometimes to start working on our to-do list. Remember, your brain is always wanting to conserve energy, avoid pain, seek pleasure. So it makes sense. And it's totally fine. Let's just feel the overwhelm and take action anyway. Okay, so those are our 2 tactics when you're trying to mark stuff off your to-do list. Number 1, again, choose a good fuel or useful fuel. And number 2, if you aren't able to generate a useful fuel, just fill the fuel that doesn't feel as good and take action anyway. So, how do we know if we're being productive? I have a lot of return missionaries, especially that are like, I'm not working right now. I'm kind of in limbo, or even preparing missionaries that are like, I haven't left on my mission yet. And so I'm not really productive. How do we know if we're productive? How do we know if we're successful or if we're growing or if we're evolving? I have some news for you. Being productive is not a fact. It's a way that we choose to view ourselves and what's happening in our lives. Being successful, there's no blood test for successfulness, okay? We get to decide with the way we think about ourselves if we're successful. There's no blood test for growth or evolvement. Both of these scenarios are thoughts, you guys. They're observations that we can make on purpose. Did you know that I could spend the whole day in bed, not accomplish anything on my to-do list, and just decide to believe that that was productive? I can. Here's the reason I suggest that we do believe it was productive, because when we think I was productive today, it creates a useful fuel. It's just more fun that way. Listen, there's just no upside to thinking I'm not successful, I'm not productive, I'm not growing, I'm not evolving. I've been working with this sister missionary who had served a proselyting mission. Now she's on a service mission. And she said to me, she just said, I just feel like I can't grow the same here at home on a service mission as I can on the mission. And I was like, why on earth would we think that thought? That thought does not create a useful fuel. It creates like disappointment and frustration and maybe some shame. And we can still take action from all of those places. We can still accomplish things on our to-do list. But you know what's more fun is just deciding, what if it's possible that I can grow just as much here in a service mission as I do out on another mission? Because growth, you guys, happens internally because we have brains. Your brain's going to go with you on the mission. Your brain's with you on a proselyting mission. So those different thoughts and those different emotions that we feel are changing us. We are evolving. We are always growing. In fact, I was sort of thinking it when I was putting this podcast together, is it even possible for us to not grow and change? I kind of don't think so. We're always growing and changing and evolving. It's just not useful to think of yourself as not growing, as not productive. What it does when we think we're not productive is it makes us less productive. What it does when we think I'm just not growing here is it actually stunts our ability to grow. So let's just decide, even if we don't get anything done on the to-do list, even if we stay in bed all day, let's just decide it's productive, because that creates the most useful fuel. The last strategy I want to share with you today about tackling your to-do list is I want us to start thinking of, instead of like a to-do list, you can have a to-do list, but I want you to create a thought list. Like, what are the thoughts I would need to be thinking that would generate some emotion that would help me get this stuff done? Okay. So instead of like, I need to go to the temple, let's take a couple steps back and think, what would I need to think? What kind of emotion would I need to feel that would drive me, that would be a useful fuel to get me to the temple? I came up with a thought list that might be useful for you when you're trying to tackle your to-do list. Okay. And all of these thoughts, I think, generate useful emotion. Remember, sometimes we're still going to feel emotion that doesn't feel good and we can take action anyway. But these thoughts will help you generate emotions that I think would be useful. Okay, how about this thought? This matters. When you're looking at your to-do list of exercise, can we just think like, this matters? What, instead of like, I have to exercise, can we think, this matters? It matters to my body. It matters to me. And create a different emotion like commitment. Here's another thought. I don't have to do any of this, but I kind of want to. One of the thought like errors that I think our brain gets into and likes to default to is I have to do blank. When we think I have to do blank, we start to feel trapped. It doesn't feel fun anymore, and our brain resists that. So sometimes I just tell myself, I don't have to do any of this. I don't have to do any of the stuff on this to-do list. I really don't have to. And once I kind of think that, then I decide, well, but maybe I want to. Okay, here's another thought. I am capable. Notice how that thought creates like empowerment, it creates abundance, it creates motivation. Here's another thought for your thought list. I'm willing to feel a little uncomfortable. This goes back to feeling that kind of not so fun fuel and doing it anyway. Like I'm willing to feel overwhelmed. I'm willing to feel kind of anxious even. I'm willing to feel a little bit nervous. I'm willing to feel a little bit of dread, and I'm going to do it anyway. Another thought for your thought list. The stuff on this to-do list won't change my worth. That's true, you guys. When we think about it this way, maybe we feel more abundance. Maybe we feel more calm. Maybe we feel more peace. How about this for your thought list? I know how to generate the best fuel. All it takes is thinking. How about this thought for your thought list? I get to create whatever I want. This is one I run into a lot with preparing missionaries, currently serving missionaries, returned missionaries, that we start to think that there's a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things. And rather than thinking about it that way, just think, I get to create whatever I want. Like we could create a date. We could create a scripture study session. We could create a companionship inventory. It sounds more fun that way. When I think about it that way, that I get to create something today, then I feel motivated. It's a super useful fuel. I have just a couple more for you. The most effective change is not perceptible to other people. This is true, you guys. People will see you checking things off your to-do list. Those are things people can observe from the outside, and you can even observe yourself doing. But that in and of itself is not change. What's change is the way your thoughts about yourself change and the way your feelings change. That's where growth is in your thoughts and in your feelings. Okay? The last thought I want to offer to you for your thought list is this is going to be fun. I like this one. This comes from my mentor, Jody Moore. She taught it to me long ago. She basically said, if it's not fun, we're not doing it. But we also kind of get to decide that everything's fun if we want to. I hope that you've gained some tools on this podcast about how to kind of tackle your to-do list. Let's kind of do a recap. Remember, when you get the to-do list done, it's not going to change your worth. Your worth doesn't go up or down. Also, remember, when you get to that place where you've accomplished the exercise or gone on the date or done the companionship inventory or run the marathon, I use as another example, your brain goes with you. So it's okay. You'll still have your brain. Don't buy into your brain that says, I will feel so much better about myself. I will be a better human after I exercise. Your brain will just, after you exercise, your brain will be like, oh, now I have a problem with this. Remember the two tactics. You can either generate a useful fuel with your thoughts, or you can feel the not so useful fuel and do it anyway. And remember, being productive successful, growing, evolving. Those are all thoughts and just ways that we can perceive ourselves. And I highly suggest that we just always think about ourselves that way. Even if we don't get anything done on our to-do list, we're still productive because that change, that transformation happens on the inside. All right. So let's loosen our grip around the stuff that we just think we have to get done. And let's give ourselves a little bit more grace. Let's make it fun. Let's focus more on what we want to think that will generate useful fuel. All right, my friends? Okay, everyone have the most amazing week. Take care. Thanks so much for joining me on the podcast today. Listen, if you are learning a lot from this podcast and you like what you're hearing, you will absolutely love hopping on a free strategy call with me. That's where you and I meet up one-on-one and talk specifically about what is going on for you. I love teaching young adults the mental and emotional tools that they need to overcome worry and anxiety, serve the successful missions they've always dreamed of, and navigate their post-mission experience with confidence. So go to jennydildine.com and click on the Work With Me link. I would love to meet you, and I would love to get you some helpful tools and strategies to help you fully embrace whatever is next for you. And in the meantime, no matter which part of the mission experience you are involved in, just know that Jenny, the LDS Mission Coach, is thinking about you every single day.